come back to what we had here. But never mind, the draft here. Oh, it took me by surprise. Game number 2, we're going to be on Volskaya Foundry. Gen.G, jeez, I always do that. Currently 1-0 up against Tempo Storm.
And the consistent theme of my first ban.
Yeah, it's been banned against Tempo Storm now 4 games of 4. And I imagine it might be 6 of 6 by the end of the night with their double header today.
We saw a Tempo Storm Tracer ban. Do you think that's going to happen again, considering Gen.G played Tracer on this map yesterday?
I think there's a high chance of that. I also think that they're respecting Rich's Tracer because he's so difficult to kill. A lot of people were saying, obviously, when the Tracer rework came through, that it was a nerf, but Rich was the first to raise his hand and say, no, this is a buff. I don't need those mobility skills as much. The damage is fantastic. So, talking, of course, about the first original rework of Tracer this year. I think that if you ban the Tracer here, it's a safe pick. You can't really warp the draft any other way. You could ban another comfort pick here. You could ban the Hanzo, for example, but you're not going to be banning the Malfurion that you'd love for Gen.G to skip out on. You're not going to be banning the Garrosh here. And so the Tracer is just the safe pick here. You're going to react again in the draft, just like we saw last time. Malfurion comes in, no surprises here. The way this Battleground has been played has changed a lot since its initial release because of the buff of the objective. In the past, you know, Nuzibo was highly prioritized on this map. I'm really curious to see how Gen.G plays this out now, though.
The Tempo Storm, Garrosh is once again available to them. That is very much a preference, so there's a very good chance we will still be seeing that. Question is what they go with it. Are they still comfortable running the Gen.G after how that went in the last game? And are they comfortable even running the Garrosh without perhaps something to at least help them engage, considering how difficult they found it last time?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because both of the ranged damage dealers played around that Garrosh a lot better than I would say just about anyone that Cattle's encountered so far. Cattle's Garrosh is amazing, but the way that Hanzo auto-attacks, his mobility that he gets and just resets stutter stepping, going for mobile offense. He also had the movement speed at level 4 that enabled him to be able to kite around that. It was more difficult, so we might see that change. There you go, nice call. Some slows might change that up.
I'm digging it. So instead of going for something like that gives a speed boost, going for the slows, which gives them also a lot of consistent suppressive damage, which can give Mal problems. So what do? You remove that hero, and Zeratul is exactly what you need for that kind of strategy.
Very, very difficult to keep Jaina alive with Garrosh because he could surely grab people, he can hit the Groundbreaker, but against Zeratul, who's so mobile and is so able to bounce back and forth in and out of the action, it's difficult for Garrosh to peel. So I like the Zeratul pick here. I wasn't expecting it, though. I was thinking now with the Jaina instead of the Gen.G, less mobility options, kind of like what Kalaris was alluding to last game. Maybe you want to dominate the solo lane with a global, but they take the other approach here.
Would Gen.G be ready for water elemental play? Is that something that... I mean, I know that there's not a whole lot of mage play in Korea and the Eastern meta in general.
I think Jaina these days, like this year, has been almost exclusively water elemental, so I'd say that it's not going to be a shock to them. We're not talking about the old Taiwanese, you know, Ring of Frost, Zeratul Void Prison combo anymore. That's kind of the old days. So I think, yeah, I don't think the water elemental will be a big surprise for them. It will make Zeratul more difficult to utilize.
Exactly, yeah. It was interesting to see Zeratul be picked into it, trying to see if he can pick her off first, if the Frost Armor comes in, the slows, the turnaround route, and the water elemental too.
So with Hanzo banned away, they still need some kind of range damage. Do you think they can still default to the Phoenix, considering how well they played it last time?
It's a lot easier, I think, against Jaina. You know, she could do a lot of burst, but Phoenix has the easy teleport away, so you're not going to be able to make that burst combo work unless you can somehow bait out the warp early. So I think Phoenix is still a fantastic choice here.
Valor is still alive as well, so potential spell shields. We finally see a Sonia ban from Gen.G this time.
The Sonia ban here, I think, is partially due to the Zeratul pick, which I think is still going to function as the solo laner. So you don't have the ability to really shut down that heavy push that comes through from Sonia with the Zeratul, so you just don't want to face off against that in the head-to-head. Plus the ability that Sonia has to help peel against Zeratul and potentially stun him can be quite threatening.
She also has a lot of self-sustain. That's always something to keep in mind for Volskaya Foundry and the control point fights, which are very long. So we might see Tempo Storm move more into having Blaze on their side this time. Have a bunker that can try to help out with defense, as well as having the self-sustain from his flames.
The extra defense from that bunker could actually be so impactful against the Zeratul if you can keep Blaze near enough to Jaina. that could be absolutely what they need. I love that call.
Yeah, I think if you get the Blaze here, it's so difficult for Gen.G to do anything in the late game. So they grab this, they keep the Gen.G as well. But it's very difficult for Gen.G now to win this game, I think, if they don't dominate early. Because if Jaina gets her Ice Block very early, and you have Blaze get level 10, then what could you really accomplish with this Zeratul composition anymore? I think that the Sonia ban was intelligent in terms of macro, but in terms of what Zeratul can accomplish, the Blaze pick here is fantastic.
And Gen.G again too. So a ton of follow-up damage for the chain crowd control.
Especially against slowed enemies, if like that Water Elemental's chasing down Zeratul. Genji's one of the few heroes who can dive deep enough to actually catch him, even with the range nerfs.
I think there's two ways you can go about this. I think you can go Falstad here. If you really want to control the map, you want to kind of avoid fights.
Oh my! Oh my!
Oh boy.
Bringing out literally the sieging heavy artillery here. Sergeant Hammer and Junkrat. This is something that we've always said before. Johanna is fantastic if you want to win a poke war. She holds down frontline so well, but we've never seen this particular kind of sieging potential to be added behind it.
You know what's funny is Tempo Storm has, I believe, well, I guess it might have been when he was on Gale Force Esports, but either way, Fan occasionally would be the one who would bust out Sergeant Hammer in the past. There are also ones who would sometimes bust out Zeratul in the past, so they're having to play against a lot of these niche heroes, which means they should, in theory, know how to beat them, but it's whether or not they actually can execute on that.
You know, when you think about Sergeant Hammer, you think about going into siege mode, Stukov's a great choice here for sustain for the map. When you think about Sergeant Hammer, you think immobility, you think watch out for burst damage, watch out for heroes like Jaina, Genji, Garrosh. It's a very bold pick for Gen.G here.
Even Stukov as a support with his lurking arm is not a bad choice against a Sergeant Hammer, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I love that pickup that they go into a lurking arm that can go underneath that, Garrosh combos, but Junkrat also gives a little bit more of survivability, trying to control the points with his mines, but I wonder how much we'll actually see Sergeant Hammer siege up, because her new rework is very sieging up focused, but in the past, when a Korean team would draft Sergeant Hammer, it was a lot more about like stutter stepping.
Yeah, stutter stepping, auto attacking. Yeah. Honestly, I think if I could remove the team names of these two teams, I'd look at the draft for Gen.G and say this draft is terrible. I think it's horrible.
Right.
But I doubted them once, and I do feel like we gotta think about this a little bit further. We can't judge this just based on face value.
This is what I want to ask. It's time for predictions, Gilly.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a tough one. I'm still gonna go Gen.G. It's 24-0 now. Until someone breaks that, I don't know if you'll see me vote against that.
Gen.G, when they were MVP, when they were champions of BlizzCon, they picked a lot of weird heroes. They played Ana a lot in the early stages of BlizzCon last year. When I see them pick a hero like this, I always have to trust them. And I already doubted them once in this series. I'm not going to do that again, so I go Gen.G.
Gen.G, Sergeant Hammer, they've got to know what they're doing. They wouldn't risk this against a team of the caliber of Tempo Storm if they didn't know what they were doing. Gen.G.
For all of the reasons above, Gen.G as well.
As much as it pains us.
Yeah.
It's a weird draft.
If it was any other team with that draft, I'm like, no, go away. But you gotta give it to them. Let's head over and find out what you guys have voted for. It's not 80-20. Yes.
And very, very apt as well, considering how hard that was to decide. So
yeah, I guess so. All right, let's head over to the commentary team. Guys, are you as surprised as we are?
I'm ready to roll out. I know that much. Just as the last two picks, I'm just like, what?
Sergeant Hammer for me is a bit of a blast of the past. It feels like we're playing Battlefield of Eternity, but we're bringing it to NA.
Blast from the past. I like it. No, yeah, that was good. That was good.
I tried really hard to really follow you up there.
I saw you were taking notes before then. But either way, I mean, this is just an unusual draft. The Zeratul kind of caught me off guard, the fact that we're getting Sergeant Hammer, and you think, Sergeant Hammer into Garrosh, can Garrosh even get close to you? Just hit him with that knockback anytime he gets anywhere near you.
Just think about a Void Prism into a big gun just firing from Rich here as Gen.G lead this best of two series 1-0 here. We are on Volskaya Foundry with Saki playing Malfury and Zeratul being played by Kyocha. Tist on Johanna once again. Rich playing Sergeant Hammer and Reese rounding it out as Junkrat.
On the right side in red, trying to even this up 1-1 is going to be Tempo Storm, as Caterpillar going to find himself one more time on the Garrosh. Fan on Jaina this go-round, saw him again on Genji. Glaurung being on the Blaze, Sukaf by June.
A lot more of a comfortable draft there for Tempo Storm on a map that they are a lot more comfortable on in general. The Jaina for me stands out. I'm really excited to see if they can try and find some of the magic from yesterday's defeat of Ballistics and bring it across into this series here. Even just denying 1 point away from Gen.G would be a massive undertaking, not only for this team, but for anyone that we've seen so far.
I look at this composition and I'm like, how do you engage into this composition of a Sergeant Hammer and a Junkrat? It's almost impossible. And then I also think about how do you engage with this composition of a Johanna and nobody else to take a control point where Garrosh literally loves to just stand still and dare you to come and fight him. I am so intrigued by these compositions, Skimmy, that I, as an analyst, have no idea like what I'm about to witness. And I love it.
You're lost, then I'm going to try and guide you along that ship with my words in a foreign accent to keep Twitch chat amused as we reach that 1 minute mark and teams are looking to go for those fortification camps. These turrets, they pack such a punch when you do actually get into those control points. They act like that 6th member and it cannot be undervalued here as both teams do acquire that one. And I'd love to always see a good Sky Foundry game.
It's going to be a matter of the contention over the healing pulse. The biotic emitter is one of those things that we see a lot of teams favor. You can hear it. You know, when you're in the studio, you can hear the priority on that. Again, Garrosh controls points like this like no other. He can walk on. Johanna has the iron skin. You have the lurking arm as well. So the control point in particular, the concussion mine is down. Yeah, just like that. I mean, Garrosh just tosses you over the wall and says, nah, I'm taking this.
Flip side of it is, though, you've always got the Junkrat there with the concussion mines. There's going to be multiple occasions for both of these teams to really try and control those objectives and look to try and get themselves some advantages when it comes to getting that Tri-Glide Protector.
My favorite thing was, I mean, you remember, we talked to Gen.G a couple days ago, and you had posed the question like, why is this team so successful for so long, and what kind of works here?
Yeah.
And you know, they talk a lot about Noblesse, who came on as coach going into BlizzCon last year, which worked out pretty well for them, I'd say, winning. But they say anything is on the table, and it makes it fun, right? I mean,
yep.
You can literally say, no matter what, we're capable of playing anything, and it's on the table. This is very much anything is on the table.
And I mean, it really is a case of the open-mindedness that they mentioned as well, right? The fact that they say, I think Sergeant Hammer is actually really good here. And there's a big priority that we've seen so far to try and deny them of that trace. We've seen Valor busted out by them on day number 1, but Sergeant Hammer is now the new hot flavor. Are they hiding strats? That's the question. Or are they just having fun right now? As the very first control point spawns, it's point A, it's in mid lane.
I got that one.
Tried.
You know, so one interesting thing here is that Sergeant Hammer, again, if you're Garrosh, your engagement tools to hard engage as a Garrosh is to literally walk forward. And that right there was the activation of her level 4, which gives you that unstoppable. It's a self-cleanse. Then you have the knockback. So you have the knockback and you have the self-cleanse. And speaking of cleanse, Garrosh got to get out of there. But that's why Sergeant Hammer is so intriguing here because of the options. First, you have the knockback, and then you also have the self-cleanse. So how, as a Sergeant Hammer, can you engage here?
And every time he stealths up, he's going, or every time he sieges up, he's going into stealth and packing such a big punch to really try and blast somebody down in that one-shot situation. So you're thinking a Sergeant Hammer Zeratul combination? Not really something that springs to mind for me, but both of those have made each other allies. They both can disappear into the shadows.
I just want to see, I mean, at this point, I've seen Rich play so many things on his stream, and he takes the weirdest things and he makes them good. I'm just, later on this series, later on this weekend, I'm expecting a Gaslo. Is that too much to ask?
I just left you hanging there because I think that is a little bit too far. But now you've got the stealth mobile. Almost like Batman coming right at you. He can just sneak around and you're thinking, is that Zeratul or is that Sergeant Hammer? Somebody is looking to try and take me down as we look to see really how this point is being held for the most part, and Tempo Storm have managed to acquire 58% of it, but Gen.G have been doing a fantastic job of pulling them off.
They're trying right there. As you can see, Cattle does get the flip in, trying to get some damage down. Biotic emitter keeping that of Tempo Storm alive, allowing them to control the point. They also use the turret that you talked about being so effective in these. They've pushed Gen.G off, and now they're looking to reclaim control one more time.
Bit of an ebb and flow that we can see here right now, Jay. How almost very reminiscent of Infernal Shrines, where you would break that circle down, divide it in half, and look to see teams go back and forth to try and claim this point. But 81% in climbing now for Tempo Storm. If they can get the first protector here, that would give them a very strong window. Much the same as what we saw in Dragon Shire, but it's all about if they can get to level 10 and continue rather than fall behind.
The first protector we know is extremely powerful because you try and get double walls, you try and get mid, and you try and get top, and that nets you. You can see the experience. It's basically even at the start of this. It's about to be 9 to 8 and potentially 9.5 because you don't just want to get the mid and top wall. You also want to get that top well behind that wall to make sure that you have control going into the next objective point. And we're looking at a half-level lead and growing right now for Tempo Storm.
Yeah, it feels very reminiscent of a strategy on Sky Temple where you're going to be cycling through those temples, looking to get that well taken away, and doing what they did really on Dragon Shire as well, denying it away from Hyocha in that top lane before. This time, can we get some pressure onto a fort? Because last time, they weren't able to take any structures down apart from the wall and those towers. And so far, this fort is down to half.
It's down to half, and that's going to equal a level 10 if they can get this taken down, because they're in dangerous territory. They do get that. Again, the engagement options of a Johanna composition, they might actually be, I was going to say, the Iron Skin is going to keep them alive, but your engagement options are limited with Gen.G. They are very hard to engage into, but again, the engagement opportunities are going to be limited. And right there was a keen example of it, is that they had Zeratul on the bottom, and I'm curious what we're going to have. I mean, obviously, we expect a VP at this point. Might of the Nerazim we haven't really seen too much of as of late. You never know at this point.
The way I'm seeing this one, Jay, I feel as if it's a case of Gen.G welcoming Tempo Storm to come on in, make the play on their own accord, and just dictate and control it in their own style of play with Johanna, with Junkrat, and we'll have to wait and see what ultimate is locked in here. It is going to be the Void Prison, so we're going to see, and it is the BFG, so I've called out what is looking like a quick match game gone terribly wrong on the biggest stage possible.
When it's Korea, they're all about that blow up, and if they can get that big VP into one of those BFGs, then you can certainly go into it. And you can see the siege mode here for Sergeant Hammer starting to take effect, and it's now on to Glaurung and team to try and get the push in, to try and thwart the advances right now, and they're going to start by diving in with Psalm instantly, and Rich is dipping on out of there.
Does indeed. The Water Elemental is taken on out very, very quickly without any real issue. Point B, the next one right there on your minimap in the top. That's what they'll be looking to try and exert the pressure on in the side of Tempo Storm, who have still remained quite healthy with their 1-level lead. Still though, no first blood 8 minutes into this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected. Again, it's really hard, I think, compositionally to find those big blow-up fights. But what we will be looking at is the VP potentially into the BFG and the Riptire. We also see on the other side X-Strike. It's going to be up to Psalm to make sure that that armor that you can get as Sergeant Hammer has already been used before you use that. He can also use that as a save mechanic if he knows that he's about to be blown up. We've seen teams do that, especially against Twilight Dreams. However, on this one, we have Tranquility to help keep that team alive. So again, finding the moments, it has to be very timely for Tempo Storm to find their opportunities, but Gen.G, you can see the blow-up potential is definitely there.
Both these teams biding their time waiting for that objective to spawn. As you can see, the fortification camps are not too far away, about 40 seconds on that bottom left one. And once those turrets are in play, we will see control point be unlocked in 25 seconds, making sure that is when things can suddenly come to a head. Level 13, the tier advantage for Tempo Storm here.
And this is normal, right? If you get the first protector, generally, unless there's a gank attempt, which there is not as many on this battleground, unfortunately, you find this. And it's 13 to 12, it's on to the other team. And so you're already in position if you're the team with that 13 tier advantage. So having the map control and the positional advantage generally comes in. But when you are on a Johanna, you can kind of bend those rules a little bit because you've got an Iron Skin while the rest of the team is trying to soak that 13, but we might have an engagement. Zeratul lurking at the bottom. Blaze just now on his way up.
Yeah, Glaurung on the way to the top lane. And quite honestly, Gen.G weren't able to really punish the fact that it was a 4v5 because they did not have level 13. We've seen them do all kind of weird shenanigans with level deficits, team member deficits, but in this case here, there was no clear, real advantage for them to capitalize upon, except for this support camp here. That might be where we start to see teams deciding what is more valuable, what is more important for them to consider.
Here comes Glaurung on the backside, though. See if he can initiate here. He's got lots of oil down. Pyromaniac is out. The fight is now going to rage on here. Concussion bite going to knock one back. And Cattle says, get out of my house, as he throws them out. Ooh. That is instantly blown up. Zeratol's actually down here, Skimmy.
Very, very low there, but Fan does a fantastic job to ensure that the Riptide does not take him down in the process to make it a 1-for-1. Tempo Storm still controlling. And you can see that point control, the flip, the knockback, the ability to dictate who really does get that support healing beam. It does so much, and especially when you've got Stukov on top of that. No easy time for a member to fall on town. Yes,
June got a nice root there.
He was in troubled waters.
You can see it's forcing the rotation down now. So we have a 4-on-4. Again, they're protecting their assets right now, and that comes in the form of the bottom wall as well as that turret camp there to make sure that they don't give that up. And you can see that Tempo Storm, they're going to come down. That's the threat of Sergeant Hammer. Against most other heroes, there's a few that kind of come to mind. It's you're like, all right, we can't give this push up. You can't just let Sergeant Hammer push. And they responded accordingly. Tempo Storm now all of a sudden with just that one kill, Skimmy, looking at a full level lead and a second protector.
Yeah, they've retained that one level lead ever since the very first protector. And now with the second one, looking to push that one through even further as the unstoppable, the armor component you were discussing gets popped onto Rich and he gets dropped extremely low, but they aren't able to find that pick, which would have been the best pick of them all from that Gen.G lineup to make sure that this siege with this protector finds infinite value leading into level 16.
At level 7 you can move, but you're not that fast when you're in siege mode. And you can see Glaurung getting a little bit of poke over. There it is, the armor popped again, making sure to deal with that explosive damage coming out from the protector. They're trying to defend, but Tempo Storm starting to stretch this lead a little bit.
Fan is in the top lane, he's wave clearing, so once again a 4v5 situation, but with a 2-level deficit. Is the exact same story as Control Point B. The punishment potential that Gen.G are looking to try and do just isn't going to be a factor, as once again Rich getting dropped so low. The abilities that this protector can output from both the driver and the ranger seat really giving him a hard time, and not only that, forcing Sake to burn a lot of resources to ensure he survives.
Wait a second, they have no time left on this splash shield with the engagement. The biotic emitter is gonna have to go down, cross the turret.
Wow.
I don't know what Tempo Storm did there, but they way overplayed that. There were 2 members showing mid and they went in and ran that down. That is a major misstep there by Tempo Storm.
I have to question really what was their thought process. Did they just have a lapse of judgment of realizing that the protector was really going to expire? Because you saw other members on the team had already rotated through to mid lane, and they were left on their own. So I believe it must have just been a very small miscalculation of, oh, hang on a minute.
I was about to paint the picture. Look, Tempo Storm, they have a lot. They have control. The same way you get top well down before the second objective, you get the bottom well down for the third, and you have control, and you play around those camps, and you play around that experience advantage. And they could have been taking this healing camp already. Now they're a little bit late to start. They still should have control, but we're gonna have a fight over it.
There we are indeed. Ooh. Cattle down low, but he does ensure that he gets a support camp. He's gonna drop it on down, or actually was that another one? It was indeed. Reset gets away very low, but Gen.G will not be lucky enough in this instance, because he is the first casualty in this skirmish, as ultimates were burned on every single side. Only X-Strike and the massive shove still available.
Things starting to slip here for Tempo Storm, and you got to credit Gen.G for finding these opportunities. And I must say, their opportunities I did not expect Gen.G to have for the next several minutes until we get to that next control point. Now Sergeant Hammer looking to siege up and really get some true value.
The fact that Reset was able to get away there really was a big determining factor, in my opinion, as to potential for Tempo Storm to try and win out that skirmish. Now Gen.G nearly backing into a situation where they have tied up this XP lead, which at one stage of this game, J-How, was 2 levels down.
Yeah, and they've fought their way back. And we also have Giant Killer now available for Sergeant Hammer, which does 1.5% of the maximum health against targets. And you think about a hero like Garrosh, who gets more armor the less health he has. Now, those basic attacks are going to hurt quite a bit more against the hero of his nature.
Top lane is pushing, the mercenaries are being set up already. Zeratol, he's going to be joining this fight right now. And you can see both Kyocha and Sam hanging in the wings, both looking to try and make that flank, looking for that one overstep. You can see them going to meet themselves in a 1v1 trade, a bit of a 1v1 duel. If anything, as the bunker gets dropped on down, the massive shove comes across as well.
We're going to take a quick moment here as we kind of keep an eye on things to see what's going on. But as you can see, that game definitely got a little bit wild there. Garrosh having a tough time engaging into a lot of those scenarios, and you could just see the Giant Killer starting to chunk away more and more into that engagement. It's like every time you come in, you had the knockback there from Sergeant Hammer, you had the armor, you had the self-cleanse, and a lot of that, again, Garrosh is just, you can feel he's getting antsy in those moments to try and get those kills.
Not only are the tanks both flexing their might to try and force something for their DPS to then collapse upon, but as I was mentioning before, just before we had that quick break, was, you know, Kyocha and Sam are definitely on that wing looking to see what they can do, and in the end, it's this case of, let's just take each other on. But the biggest thing for me that's really been a big scary factor is Sam's going to be so calculated when he actually does decide to swift strike in and commit to a fight, because the amount of punishment potential that Gen.G have, the Void Prism, the Junkrat, Riptide, and then you got Sergeant Hammers with the BFG, that was a lot of burst damage that we saw point blank due to that misstep with that Protector.
Well, a lot of it, you know, is in the Zeratul of Kyocha. I mean, you want to go back in history, you talk about this roster when you have a lot of that core there with Rich, with Kyocha, and with Sake, and then, of course, picking up Reset and Tist over time. But Kyocha Zeratul is that of legend, right?
Absolutely.
It goes back so far. And I think about this, I'm like, wait a minute, we're talking 2-3 years in the past, and it's like, wait a minute. It's not a surprise to see this again now that he's moved over to this role, and he got that big blow-up play around that when he did take down the Genji. And you said Genji goes in, he's going to be punished, and Kyocha is definitely one of those people that can make that happen.
He's going to be waiting in the wings, looking to try and capitalize on any situation that you give to him. And a team like this, you know, Gilly keeps wanting to mention it, 23 or 24-0 now. They are a team with accolades that spread far beyond just this season alone. This has been years and years in the making. But Tempo Storm come out the gates here firing. We are tied at 2 kills apiece here as we work through these technical difficulties. What I'm seeing here is that Sam was having a few issues casting his shuriken, so maybe a few keyboard issues.
We're getting those resolved, and hopefully we'll be back into this game momentarily. It seems like we're on the right path there, but again, with a lot of that, you know, we're in the middle of a major team fight, so I'm curious, you know, where we're going to end up coming back into this, because there was the massive shove. You know, Johanna kind of got pushed in, and killing a Johanna is no easy task. You know, you tried to see the big toss in as Sergeant Hammer was able to go away. Actually, I think Sergeant Hammer ended up falling in the middle of that, but we're going to find out when we do get back in. But Tempo Storm had that lead, gave up a few kills, trying to reclaim control of this game.
Absolutely, and you know, Gen.G weren't going to give them an easy ride, that's for sure. They've definitely tied things up when it's come to this XP, and you know, this is a map that Tempo Storm are very comfortable on. We were talking before even this series took place. Where would the ban priority come? Would they actually look to try and ban out the Volskaya? That was my sort of brainstorming idea, but Brax's Holder has seen no gameplay whatsoever so far at the mid-season Brawl, and they weren't about to change that anytime soon. A map which can snowball out of control so quickly, but for many teams, they see it as a cheese-orientated style of play that they're just not willing to sacrifice or give into.
Well, while we do work through these difficulties, we're actually going to take a quick break so we can get those resolved, and we'll be back to you for the conclusion here of game number 2 between Tempo Storm and Gen.G.
Deckard Cain is a kindly scholar who devoted his life to protecting the world of Sanctuary from demonic threats. Working alongside brave heroes, Deckard is a formidable force for good, thanks to his ancestral ties to the Herodrum. Now he is ready to study the Nexus and uncover its secrets.
The Nexus? Interesting.
Deckard is a setup healer who keeps enemies at bay with his ancient artifacts. Deckard's trait is Fortitude of the Faithful, which rewards him for staying close to his teammates. While near an ally, Deckard gains armor and his basic abilities recharge faster. The first of these basic abilities is Healing Potion. Deckard will throw out a potion, healing the first ally to come in contact with it. He can have up to 5 potions active at a time. Deckard's W ability releases the Heraldric Cube, which deals damage to enemies in its range and briefly slows them. Heraldric Cube is one of many tools Deckard can employ to control his enemies and set up his teammates. In this vein, Deckard can also use his Scroll of Sealing ability to unfurl a protective scroll that forms a triangle underneath enemies, damaging those inside and rooting them for a short time.
Stay a while and listen.
Stay a while and listen is Deckard's first heroic ability. He tells a riveting tale to enemy heroes in an arc in front of him, causing them to fall asleep. Though highly effective, Deckard's stories only sleep enemies once per cast. Deckard's second heroic ability is Lornado. Deckard's many books and papers form a swirling vortex that travels in the target direction, constantly pushing away enemies that come in contact with it. Deckard Cain is a seasoned support to his allies with capable healing, debuffing of enemies, and strong area denial. Keep him close to his teammates in order to best leverage the cooldown reduction from Fortitude of the Faithful. Later on, the Ancient Blessings talent further boosts Deckard and his allies by allowing their basic attacks to deal area damage and heal them per hero hit. Additionally, Deckard's healing potential can benefit from setting up his healing potions ahead of time, so his allies can pick up multiple potions for burst healing. As for talents, Super Healing Potion increases the potion's healing amount if they are left on the ground. And the Bottomless Flask talent allows the potions to recharge after being used. Deckard can use the Heraldric Cube to slow his enemies in order to trap them in range of his Scroll of Sealing. The Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald talents enhance the Heraldric Cube for different bonus effects. Each gem adds a new button above your ability bar. Activate this button to enable the gem on your next Heraldric Cube cast, placing the gem on cooldown. The Perfect Gems talent reduces the cooldown for all gems, making the Heraldric Cube an even more optimal defense. Deckard Cain has come to share his wisdom with other heroes and explore the mysteries of many realms.
What secret shall we uncover?
Sonia is in a good place right now as an aggressive warrior, but we wanted to introduce more interesting talent picks and allow greater flexibility in her builds. The new tweaks to Sonia's talents benefit multiple playstyles. Furious Blow now causes every 4th Seismic Slam to deal additional damage for no fury cost. Shattered Ground has been changed to increase Seismic Slam's damage and range. And the new Giant Slammer talent causes Seismic Slam to deal additional damage to heroes. The new Ruthless talent causes Whirlwind to deal bonus damage to heroes at low health. And Composite Spear now further increases Ancient Spear's range and grants armor. Some talents are now viable for more than one specific build. Shot of Fury now increases basic attack damage after using Seismic Slam, making it an effective choice for both a Seismic Slam build and an auto attack build. Similarly, the new Rampage talent increases basic attack damage and reduces the cooldown of Ancient Spear with each attack. With her new and updated talents, Sonia is now capable of diversifying her build to suit a variety of playstyles and strategies.
Feel the fury of Ariat.
tense situation here at the mid-season Brawlers. You've come back to us. We're just trying to iron out all the kinks to make sure these teams have the best environment possible to play out the rest and remainder of this game, of course, here between Gen.G and Tempo Storm. But I think one thing's very clear coming into this. A lot of us were allying with Gen.G's position, even though it was a kind of unconventional draft. So far, they haven't proved entirely to us that this is something that is going to be dominant in this position. Tempo Storm's played it out well so far.
Yeah, we ally with Gen.G's mechanics, but not with their draft,
right,
I think is the best way to say that. And honestly, Tempo Storm was playing this incredibly well. I want to give a shout out to Glaurung, who was able to catch Kyocho. That was that little bit of like a Zeratul player knowing how to catch a Zeratul, being able to get that kill, but a very unfortunate situation where the Protector popped and they lost June.
Now, I mean, my takeaway from this game so far is that I feel like this draft for Gen.G is kind of a throwaway draft. It was not a cheese strategy to me. I look at this draft and I think they just wanted to run something a little bit unusual on this map so that later on, when they potentially face it in playoffs or else, you know, later on in the group stage, there's not a lot to study from them. They felt confident that at least they already took one game. Maybe they go away with a 1-1. That's okay. This is their top opponent, arguably, in the group. So I think Gen.G here, a little bit of a throwaway draft. Their execution hasn't been great. But I think we have to look at Tempo Storm and say, well, they're struggling a little bit more than I think they should have been against this draft.
Well, I'm getting word. Thank you very much for your contributions in this tech chat. We're ready to go over to the commentators as the game is ready to go.
I'll talk about it
Fantastic stuff. We'll head over there. Still get into game number 2.
I think we're ready to get back into this bad boy. We missed a few seconds of action.
We did.
So we'll catch you back up when we do get into that, because somebody might have gone down in that fight towards the end there, and that somebody was rich on Sergeant Hammer.
Absolutely, it was. And an X strike for good measure as well with a double pause.
X gonna give it to you apparently when we come back, and that's how we come back from a pause.
Well, I mean, you can key up abilities, right? And then a pause happens, and it just happens anyway.
You know,
I'm curious to see what happens.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, Som just like, look, some things happened, and we got real excited, just jump up in the air and slam down. But either way, as we saw, you know, Sergeant Hammer, they had the kill there. We saw a Jaina rotation. I was able to kind of peek at the mini-map while we were preparing. So, you know, there was the control, that team fight that we saw that was breaking out right before, you know, we went to that break. There was a few seconds of action that we didn't get to catch. Sergeant Hammer ended up getting taken down. Tempo Storm regained control over that control point, has about 10% on it right now. Jaina was able to rotate up, and so there was a lot of map control being placed in there by that of Tempo Storm.
That it was. As looks like there's still a few issues being ironed out here, but we might be jumping back into the game very, very shortly, J-How. Tempo Storm up against a very unconventional composition that hasn't been seen in such a long time coming out of Korea. And we are back to Volskaya Foundry.
You can see the turret picked up there by Gen.G trying to find their way back into this. Because of this, we see that it's almost level 19, but level 20 will not be here for that of Tempo Storm by the time this control point is over. Sometimes we'll see teams in this position of Tempo Storm. They'll say, hey, wait a minute, we'll get a lot of this channeled, and then when we see the threat come back, we'll rotate out, get 20, and then come back because there's enough time to kind of play around that. I don't know if we'll actually have enough time for that for Tempo Storm. You can see they're conceding the point. They're going to rotate out, see if they can find an advantage elsewhere, get 20, and maybe come back in.
That they will. 89% is what Tempo Storm currently have on point number C, as now Gen.G coming on through with Tis, the sole man, looking to try and hang on to that point as the rest of the team are going for a rotation in towards that fortification camp. Talking about that turret we've been talking about all game long, but it has so much power that you cannot forget to utilize its ability as they want to now target this bottom lane. And in a bit of a reverse situation of what we saw on Dragonshire, they are the team now hungry to try and get some structures.
Yeah, and right now, Jaina should be able to get that top lane. Now they will have enough time, but Jaina has to do that very quickly and then come down. This is the 20-tier advantage. Tempo Storm is playing this exactly how you want to play this. They did give up a little bit on the channel. They did give up the turret, but they are going to reclaim control here. You can see Tis getting tossed back in. Jaina taking a very safe route on the way down, and Tempo Storm's going to reclaim control here and look for their third protector of the game.
And rightfully so, because they don't know where Kyocha is, and now they do, with him in that top lane looking to clear out some minions and get that XP. They need level 20 to try and put up any kind of contest, as the third protector of the game has now been achieved here by Tempo Storm, and with the 20 advantage as well, they can make minced meat out of this final fortification structure. Looking now, J-How, towards a keep and some win conditions.
Anything other than a keep is going to be pretty much a loss. I think right now they understand that. There's an opportunity. If they can find one pick, they can find that opportunity, find that one moment, and then they can try and end the game. That's going to be very difficult to do, trying to go into the long-range composition of the Junkrat and Sergeant Hammer, but Tempo Storm still on the aggression.
Larong is going to be the first person to jump in there with the propulsion, looking to target down Kyocho once again from one Zeratul player to another. But that Protector is falling dangerously low, down to 20%.
Bless Shield just missed as they went in to try and get the engagement onto the Gen.G. The keep is not yet down. Bunker's going to be there. You can see the Rip Tire is out. Fan trying to get the kill. He does get the blow up onto Kyocho. That is kill number 1, but now all of a sudden they are trading back out. Gen.G turning this around.
It is indeed 2 for 1 with level 20 on the horizon, or level 20 in action for Gen.G. They get a triple kill, and they say, well, you didn't get the keep, and the punishment is even harder than it would have been otherwise. But how much bleeding can they find as 2 bouncy bombs go up the Travelator? And Sake with the 1 auto attack seals the deal for a quad kill. As Sam, the sole survivor of Tempo Storm here.
Not only did Tempo Storm lose 4 members in that, but they did not get the keep. That is
the biggest
crucial.
point.
Gen.G can potentially sneak back there, but look at the death timers here. This is going to be Gen.G. They're going to be, look, we've got Sergeant Hammer, and this bad boy knows how to roll. Sergeant Hammer's going to siege up and turn her attention directly here onto the keep, and I think the death timers are long enough. They should be able to get this and trade out, and eventually Gen.G will fall back and hopefully be able to take down the keep on the opposite end to neutralize the spot lane, but we've got ourselves a game, Skimmy.
How we do, and Rich is going to be able to put this game on a timer. A bit of a long one, as he has gone for Orbital BFG at level 20. An ability that allows you to use that BFG on a cycle around the globe, consistently firing towards those structures. You'd imagine he's either looking to try and target mid lane or top mid would be preferred.
How does that work on a control point? You just let it cycle and you're like, look, I know that you like to stand there. You're a garage. I'm going to force you one way or another because I got this bad boy rotating on you.
You never know when it's going to come at you, but when it does, it packs a punch, and Gen.G now with full control of this map. As a result of that slight misplay by Tempo Storm, unable to achieve the keep, they themselves find themselves behind a level as a result.
Potential invade here. This is a very risky call, I think, for Tempo Storm, as it's been sniffed out by Gen.G. They're going to concede this, let it go, and justifiably so. Again, that bottom left keep, you can barely even see that it exists on the minimap because there's almost no health left. And there's that orbital BFG. It's going to target the fort, and it's going to target the keep, and slowly whittle this down. And there's really nothing you can do about it. There's no mule in this game.
No.
So it's just you got to sit there and take it.
The value that you're getting from that one is it tries to bulldoze its way through 3 structures, forts, keeps, and a core. Bear in mind that the core shield will be sustaining enough to not really endure too much pain from that one. But yeah, we're going to see that Sam does indeed do what you believe to be the case. Swift strike in, nab away that.
This might be a bad place. Cattle ends up getting hit with the blessed shield, gonna hop in the bunker. Riptire's gonna explode that. Tranquility's there. VP, Cattle hops into that, trying to stay alive for now. Psalm, excuse me, Fan is trying to do the damage. Does get a kill there, as we've got a Zeratul for Garrosh trade, but the assault still continues for Gen.G.
The 1-for-1, as you mentioned, and they're chasing on through with bombs all over the show, trying to target any member of Tempo Storm, and this comes at a time where the point is available. Point A, right here on your minimap, is where Gen.G want to hold, and at 21 minutes into this game, when this Protector is unlocked, it will pack such a punch with 2 members inside. You're considering a win condition right there.
Oh, 100%. There's no way you can give this up as Tempo Storm. You can see Tist manning the front line, Glaurung going in on Blaze, who is an incredibly tanky hero. Psalm gets quite a bit of damage onto Reset. Unable to get anything following up, still 20 seconds away before Garrosh and Zeratul come in, and look at the position of Fan, looking for the ultimate flank here.
They haven't spotted him. They do not know that he is there, but the rest of his squad are playing quite defensive as Psalm does decide to go in. Fan now is out of that brush, but who's he going to try and target onto? The Elemental goes on to Reset. Sake instantly popping that Tranquility for good measure as Tis leads the charge, but it doesn't matter because the charge comes through with the BFG once again, and Psalm is so lucky not to be the second DPS casualty.
I don't think there's any way if you're Tempo Storm, your biggest damage dealer is now dead. Psalm, he's going to go back, Hearth up, but this Protector, as you said, this late into the game is so incredibly powerful, that I do not see Tempo Storm holding on to this, but they're going to come in for an aggressive flank, see if they can take down a few members, but this Protector is about to just explode on the core.
This is your do or die moment as the X strike ensures that they get that kill on towards reset, but that is not their only concern right now because that shield has been destroyed in matters of seconds. Going down to 60%, looking for these kills wherever they can find them, the bunker for the armor, for the ability to try and stay around and play for a little bit longer, but Sake and the rest of the crew are there. They get the clean 2-0. Gen.G will not fall to Tempo Storm.
Got to give Tempo Storm credit for their resolve within these games, but Gen.G, as Gilly had said, as we came back to this game, it's not necessarily that we doubted the mechanics of Gen.G, we were just questioning the draft of game number 2. And well, we can now officially say it, one of the largest events that we have, Sergeant Hammer sitting at 1-0.
1-0 is the stat. 100%.